So let's move on to the specific activities for the day. There's two of them. The first one is called What's the Story? This involves you presenting the kids with a specific graph. So, for instance, here we have a graph for the amount of money saved in a piggy bank with time. So, how does the amount of money that you have saved in a piggy bank vary with time? And the students have to look at the graph and try to come up with a story that could explain what the graph is saying or that could fit the data of the graph. So there are multiple answers that could be given for each graph. So let's try to come up with one for this specific one. Okay, we see that there's a steep increase in the amount of savings initially. Maybe I was just gifted a piggy bank and I was very excited to save. And I quickly saved a lot. And then I didn't save for a period. Maybe the piggy bank got full. And therefore I couldn't put any more money in it. And then finally, we see that there is this sudden drop in the amount of money. So, this is when I saw a really nice backpack, which was maybe a little expensive, and I really wanted to get it, but it was in my budget. It used up all my savings, and therefore, my savings went to zero. Now, I didn't save for some time. I started saving again, and this is interesting. Now, I said earlier that our piggy bank got full, but here it looks like I ended up saving more than how much I had saved previously, which means there is an issue with my story, right? If the piggy bank was full at this level, then the graph cannot possibly cross this line. So this is a great example as well. You might start with a certain situation and then you might realize as you analyze the graph more deeply than that actually the situation that you started with does not fully fit the graph. So there is an incompatibility here, which means I need to change my original story. So maybe I stopped saving for a different reason. Maybe I stopped getting pocket money from my parents for some time, and not that the piggy bank got full. Okay, so now I've saved even more than I had earlier, and again there's a break. So how do I explain this one? Maybe this is when I had my birthday and I wanted to distribute chocolates in my class to my friends. And I didn't use up all of my money to do that. I tried to save some for some other purchases in the future, unlike what I had done previously. So I still have some money left. And maybe I spend it gradually. So there's a small decrease, but no sudden decrease. Okay. So you can play around with this activity and you can try to hear the students out and try to get them to come up with different scenarios rather than just stick to one specific story. What's our second activity? It's called Most Likely Graph. It's sort of the reverse of the first activity. So here, you give the students a situation and you give them 3 different graphs. And what the students have to do is pick the graph that fits the situation the best. So here, the situation is that of inflating an air balloon. So the air balloon starts with 0 or air. So it either starts with no air or a little bit. You inflate it, play with it for a bit, and then it pops. So what graph explains that situation? So let's go step by step here. Well, all the 3 graphs involve an increase in the amount of air in the balloon in the beginning, which corresponds to inflation. And then with A and B, the amount of air is steady for some time. But with C, it goes up and down. Now, if you're playing with the balloon, that's not going to change the amount of air in the balloon. Certainly, it's not going to increase the air in the balloon at any point. So, the ups and downs in graph 3 are difficult to explain given the information that's been provided. So, we can rule out C as an option. So, now we are left with A and B. Now, what's the difference between A and B? A has this this gradual decrease, constant decrease in the amount of air in the balloon, whereas in B, the air suddenly drops to zero. Now, let's go back to the situation that we've been given. It says that the balloon pops. Now, when a balloon pops, all the air escapes it suddenly, which means that the graph that should correspond to it is B and not A. So we can rule out A as well. Now this is called the process of elimination. This is a word that you can use with your kids in class, and this is a great way to arrive at an answer when you are in a multiple choice kind of a setting. So you can rule out options that certainly cannot be the answer, and ultimately you're left with what has to be the correct answer. Okay, so this is great. And finally, the third part of this activity, which is really something that you can keep doing through the course of the day or of the afternoon, is get students to draw their own graph. So maybe they can come up with, for the same situation, some different kind of graph that could also explain that situation, or maybe they can draw from personal experience. So how have their savings increased or decreased or stayed the same over the last few months? The best part about graphs is just how much they have to do with our real life, our everyday life. And that's a great opportunity for you to have fun with them, with your students.